What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the E30 engine again. I have the engine mounts painted and ready to go. So they are right here, and as well as a new water pump. So we're going to be putting those on today, and we're going to be doing some more stuff. I just don't know what yet. So yeah, I'll come back when these are all mounted up, and I will talk to you guys then. Alright guys, so we got the engine mounts on both sides, and we got the water pump on. So that's nice, that's out of the way. I started cleaning the intake manifold, the gasket surface. I did some comparisons between this and another M20 we have. I'm going to need a injector harness for the harness that I got off of eBay. So I'm going to be trying to source that, and then I will be putting back together this engine pretty shortly. I think next step is probably tightening down all the timing stuff. So I'll get specs on that and then do that. I'll probably put that on a time lapse and let you guys know torque specs and all that. The water pump was 16 foot-pounds. It's a 13 mil head bolt. So we got that all done, and then I think that's it for this portion. Alright guys, I skipped over doing the timing. I put the tensioner on, and I'm going to wait until Artie can give me a hand with that since I've never done it before. But I went ahead and put on the exhaust manifold with the gasket. That's going to be 17 or 16 to 18 foot-pounds for the captive nuts. And then I've also been working on the oil filter housing, getting that clean and ready to put on in place of this oil filter. And then I have been working on getting the intake manifold ready as well. You can see I have this sub harness now. I was able to find one and put it on. I had to do some modification to the cover for it right here, as you can see. This is the fuel return line, and it needed space from this cover right here. So I cut the cover. It should be able to work, and it's still protected on the other 5. So I've been working on getting that all put together and getting it ready to put back on the engine. And hopefully next clip is either me putting the intake manifold on or Artie helping me with the timing. Alright, so I'm going to be working on the oil filter housing next. I took the old oil filter off, and I am left with this stub that has a larger hex nut that's holding it in. I'm going to be using a 1-inch socket. It's not exactly the right size. It's a little bit bigger, but it'll work to get it off. Alright, so I just broke that loose, and as you can see, now we are unthreading it, and it's off. So that is what that looks like. And I have put the new seal on the oil filter housing, and up next I'm going to screw that in, and then once we get it hand tight, I'm going to use this bolt to torque it down. Alright, so there is a trick to this. You can thread this on and twist it on only to a certain point. There's a little notch on the inside and 2 little notches on the filter housing itself. I marked where the notch was on the block, and then the 2 notches on the filter housing right there. So I knew where it was, and now I'm going to hold this and tighten this 17 millimeter down. Alright, so now we got that nice and tight. I couldn't find a torque spec on it, so I just made it as hand tight as possible. So now we can throw a oil filter on that, and it will be all sealed up. and I went ahead and went with a man filter. Here's the part number for anyone that needs it. And I'm just going to screw that on just so it's sealed up. Alright, so I got the oil filter on there just to plug up those holes. And now I am starting to prep I've already prepped the surface of the head for the intake manifold. I've scrubbed the surface of that, and I've scrubbed the surface on this. I need to try to get this drain tube lined up and put this on. I'll probably put this on a time lapse just because it's going to be a little bit trickier. Luckily, Artie labeled all his bolts and nuts when he took apart his car, so I am just using his nuts and bolts as a reference for my bucket of bolts over there, so I can kind of compare and see which ones go where. So I will set this up on a time lapse after I find those nuts, and I will get to work on putting this intake manifold on. Alright guys, so we got the intake manifold back on. It's finally starting to look like an engine again. The torque spec for the intake manifold nuts is going to be 16 foot-pounds or 22 Newton meters. And then the tube right there is really a pain to get sorted. So if you guys are putting one together, just know that it's kind of a pain to get that on. But up next, I will probably be doing timing belt. I think I know how to do it the correct way. I'm gonna give it a try. So I'll do a short little time lapse. I'm not gonna do time lapse. I'll just cut back to when it's done. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got the timing belt on, and then I went ahead and torqued the tensioner as well. That top one's a 13 at 16 foot-pounds. The bottom one was a 17 at 16 foot-pounds. And then I went ahead and torqued the oil pump shaft gear, whatever it is. That one is 44 foot-pounds. I also tightened up the crank bolt. I think I'm going to wait until I can put this in the car, connect it to a transmission, drive shaft, have someone stomp on the brakes. That way I can torque it. I believe the torque setting is like 250 foot-pounds, something crazy. So I'm just going to put some red Loctite and get it as tight as I can. And then it should be done. Next up for me is probably going to be thermostat. I will probably put that on, or the alternator. This is starting to really come together. Soon I'll be able to hang the engine harness on it and connect a transmission to it and throw it in the car. So yeah, we're making quite a bit of progress, and I'm getting pretty excited about it. Alright guys, so that'll probably do it for this video. I got the thermostat on. That one's going to be 88 inch-pounds, and it is, I think, a 12 or 13 millimeter nut and washer. I still need to, I'll probably get new temp sensors. Those ones looked a little crusty. And then I need to get my alternator sorted out and get it on there and mounted up. And then I need to put all the accessory belts on too. So I haven't done any of that. I think I'm just gonna do water pump and power steering maybe. There's some replacement hoses that I need to get. That one's cracked. Then I need to figure, I'll probably just replace all the hoses up on top. And then I think that's about it. I'm not going to be running AC in this car, so I'm not really worried about this area. But I should be able to put this on the ground soon and put a trans on it and then get it ready to go into the car. I think I'm going to do a parts order tonight, so hopefully next video I'll have a bunch of new hoses. This thermostat housing also doesn't have a thermostat in it, so I'll order one of those. I'll get all new rubber lines, and then hopefully next video we can drop this engine into the engine bay and start buttoning things up and getting it ready to have its first start. I'm pretty stoked about the progress today. You know, it's been a long time coming, but this was a huge project, and not even 3 videos ago I decided to start with this engine. So I'm really excited, and hopefully this will be driving soon. But I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.